Polkadot's ready to shock the world again, because believe it or not, it's actually been here before. And so today we're going to discover whether Polkadot has the potential to climb to a 100 billion market cap in this cycle, which would put it up there with the biggest and best in the space. So with that being said, I don't want to waste any time here and introduce to you one of the main reasons why Polkadot, again, unbiasedly, has the highest potential to shoot to that high of a milestone. And it's called Jam. Okay, I made a video about 2 weeks ago touching on Polkadot and some of the upgrades, but this by far takes all of them to the whole next level. This is going to be embedded within Polkadot itself. It's a protocol update designed to be embedded in Polkadot, but really, it's designed to also be its own protocol itself, okay? If this does pass, which is likely going to in the next few days here, this is going to be a massive milestone for the product and ultimately allow Polkadot to be a major competitor in the space, if not arguably one of the best networks crypto's ever seen before. And how I can so confidently say that is, well, how I'm going to describe it to you in a moment. If you have a look at what this fundamentally will do for Polkadot, one, it'll get it on the map. It'll build that buzz up again, like we saw back with the parachains in late 2021, pushing Polkadot to above $50, but also it's going to allow this network to actually prosper into the future. Polkadot right now is not a security, okay? It's been deemed pretty well by the SEC that it's one of, if not the only, because Ethereum is a bit contested right now, current project in the crypto space that is not considered a security. So already, it's a very viable long-term hold, but I think this will send it into like the history books, basically. If this does pass, all right? There's a lot of things that have to fall into place here, but it's big. Let me explain. Before I do, though, I just want to say, guys, look, if you do enjoy the content, okay, if you find yourself enjoying this, or you're learning something new, or you're a Polkadot fan, go down there right now, spend the next couple seconds, drop me a like on this video for all the work I've done to put it together, and also hit the subscribe button since you're down there, of course, so that you can achieve your crypto goals in this bull run. So, about mid last month, pretty well almost to the day 1 month ago, actually, Gavin, the founder and creator of Polkadot himself, and the co-creator of Ethereum, released Jam protocol, okay? Now, the Jam itself stands for the Joint Accumulate Machine. Now, it is designed, you can see the logo in the background here, to be actually embedded within Polkadot itself. So let me read to you the actual breakdown and the synopsis here of what Jam actually is, all right? So Jam is a protocol combining elements of both Polkadot and Ethereum. It's a smart contract environment pioneered by Ethereum paired with a new secure sideband computation parallelized over a scalable node network, a proposition pioneered by Polkadot. So in layman's terms, it's taking the thing pioneered by Ethereum, the smart contract implementation in a decentralized network, so smart contracts, and it's also taking the scalable parachain model from Polkadot and it's putting them together. And this design is incredible. I love it. Actually, Jam itself, this whole gray paper that we're looking at right now, well, we're not looking at the whole gray paper, but at least the synopsis of such, the abstract, this was actually revitalized from the yellow paper from Ethereum, okay? The original yellow paper that was actually completely created and written by Gavin. Well, 10 years later, he's rewritten this and now implemented it with both Polkadot and Ethereum bases, basically, right? So Jam is permissionless in nature, allowing anyone to deploy code as a service on it for a fee through the procurement and allocation of core time. Now, if you watch this channel, and you should if you are a Polkadot fan, I'm telling you a lot more Polkadot content these days. Block space and renting core time is currently being implemented within the current Polkadot protocol, okay? So this is different to the parachain model that kind of sent Polkadot up again, like from the lows in here from the last cycle, like $10, $13, up to above $50. Basically, parachains themselves went through this sort of model where you had to bond a whole bunch of Polkadot, usually millions of Polkadot, which meant millions of dollars, which you had to get from the community. And the problem with that was the community had to lock up those Polkadot themselves, okay? So there was a bit controversy created at this point because the bear market came soon after. As you can see here, Parachains actually went live in December, so way down here, and a lot of people were left pretty much holding these coins that ended up a lot cheaper in the bear market, which, by the way, I called at the time. I was originally known as the Polkadot guy from the YouTube sense because I covered this extensively, and I told people back then, you don't want to be doing this because we're about to enter a bear market, of course. Now, everyone complaining back then because they fell for this situation, I get it, yes, highly anticipated, this massive pump that came from this long-awaited parachain model was something that you just didn't want to miss out on. But again, mathematically speaking, it was something that you really shouldn't have got into if you were looking for gains in the 2021 cycle. But here's the thing. The reason I bring all of this up is because we're likely to see an event like this, if not bigger, this time around as well, thanks to Jam, okay? It's going to incorporate this block space and renting core time model now over that parachain model. So this is much more efficient. Basically, 1, 2, and 3, these different sort of blocks within the blocks themselves. Okay, this is the blockchain moving forward. Basically, these can be different companies, right? So you can rent out block space, the space within the block itself, and core time, meaning that you can rent it out for a period of time. Unlike parachains, they'd again send Polkadot to the moon in this case, where you had to kind of bond those up for about 12 to 24 months, one of the two. And it was only one of the two pretty much. So this is much more flexible and allows small developers and small, founding projects to rent a small amount of block space out and much larger projects to rent a much larger amount of block space out, respectively. But we're not saying goodbye to parachains, right? Jam will also include a parachain service that supports existing substrate-based parachains. So substrate is the sort of building blocks in the framework that these current parachains are built on, that was pioneered and created by Gavin for Polkadot. Just like smart contracts on Ethereum pretty much run on Solidity, right? They run on this sort of EVM basically framework building created for Ethereum. In this case now, Substrate is a much more robust framework built for Polkadot. So this will allow developers to continue on the Jam protocol if implemented on Polkadot, okay? So allowing devs to continue on Substrate for blockchain development and deployment, but the only way to interact with the Jam will be through DOT. There's going to be no new token issued. So this is going to be embedded into Polkadot itself. This is a 1-minute extract from an interview that Gavin actually had with the Kusamarian. I'm going to play this for you guys so you can let Gavin, the CEO and founder himself, actually tell you this, and then we'll jump into some models here.
This is a bit like a flower. But the data, when it gets into the center, can mix with all of the other data coming from all of the other petals. And then the middle is what keeps track of where things are at. That's your basic Jam join accumulate machine, is basically this accumulation stage. It's a machine that accumulates. You collect data, like petals sort of collect rain or whatever, coming from the outside. They refine it, so this data goes through the petal towards the center of the flower, distilling it into some concentrated meaning. And then in the middle of the flower, all of this distilled data, this concentrated meaning, is collected together. It's all intermingled, and whatever logic needs to happen to combine it into the next flower, the next stage of this flower. Well, that's the Jam chain. That's the join accumulate machine.
So basically what Gavin's trying to describe here is we're doing away with this sort of relay chain model where these parachains or these blockchains build out from this sort of center accumulation, basically this consensus center of Polkadot. And now we're moving into something that's more akin to looking like this, okay, where you have these petals, which are pretty much just like a side chain that's designed to process many transactions. And all of these different things these petals can process transactions in parallel with one another, so at the same time, basically. And they all push any data that's meant to be stored on this new Polkadot Jam protocol in the middle of the chain. So again, just kind of like a flower would, if you will. Okay, that's my crude drawing of a flower. And as it goes down, you can have these transactions process at the same time, basically. So this is kind of how Gavin has drawn it up as a base concept. Again, this is just pretty much in the early stages right now, and I'm not going to go over what all this means. There's a lot of complicated jargon that is used, but all you have to know is these petals are actually operated independently of one another. They have their own nodes, basically. They're super fast. They can only store data up to 30 days, which means that if you want to store data for longer, you have to push it to the center, the core of this so-called flower. And also any coding language can be used and compiled. So you can have smart contracts on Ethereum using Solidity. You can have smart contracts using WebAssembly. You can have smart contracts, in this Substrate framework, anything, right? Java, whatever. And then you can compile them and create these applications on Polkadot. So it's trying to be agnostic to any coding language, which is akin to the internet. The beautiful part about the internet, guys, is the fact that we can build anything on it. If you can think of it, you can build it so long as there is a framework that you understand on how to create. Okay, so Polkadot is basically trying to merge into this decentralized computer, if you will, that allows anyone to build application for a set period of time, again, renting out that block space and core time, okay, for a period of time, and also have a very, very fast machine, which is going to be built from this new Jam core consensus, basically protocol. Now, this is basically set in stone at this point in time. There was a proposal at this point for the ratification, conformance, and performance, and it had to be approved by basically the Polkadot community, right? The guys who govern the protocol and its development and so on. And this right now has 100% success rate. So there's only about 16 dots saying no and 48 million dots saying yes, because I think people realize that this is going to be absolutely huge for Polkadot itself. Now, unlike the Parachain hype that crashed and burned, again, it was horrible timing and people took that out on Polkadot, even though it was their own fault for not realizing where we were in the market. Okay, typical crypto, blame everyone but yourself, basically. The Jam protocol is set to prosper from launch as Gavin is ensuring it's completely ready out of the box. So he has stated in an interview, basically at the Token 2049 conference where he gave the initial speech on this gray paper for the Jam protocol, he wants to ship it completely decentralized, instantly scalable, right? So it's not going to have any hiccups for scalability, and also continue the working open governance that gives Polkadot that sort of commodity, not security, sort of like merit, which is very, very important in my personal opinion. So lots to still come, and I think this will push Polkadot up massively. Now, Gavin has stated, yes, he has stated that this is likely going to be fully implemented to a degree, or at least in that final stages by the end of this year, which again will coincide with the sort of towards the end of the bull run, possibly could mark the end of the bull run, might even eerily be the exact same timing as this, but I believe the hype build-up, and that's all crypto is, will push Polkadot to the 100 billion market cap range, again, if not higher. We'll look at some predictions here momentarily from my price prediction sheet. Either way, a recent sort of report from Masari indicated that Q1 of 2024 had some massive upside for Polkadot itself. One of those such things, of course, was the revenue. The revenue wasn't up from last month or last quarter, but definitely up from the previous quarters in last year. Everything else has increased as well. Daily active addresses, so the people actually interacting with Polkadot is increasing, and I think this is important even before Jam comes in. Nominators are increasing. These are the guys, of course, helping secure the network. Daily active cross-chain messaging messages itself. The channels between the different parachains are also increasing, which is very important for, of course, that cross-chain connections. There's also more parachain slot auction bonds and also monthly active addresses for the parachains as well. Now, June also says that we have an increase in the nominators and validator pools as well. So the pool members is going up. The amount of nominators is pretty much moving sideways to some degree, but that's okay as long as we do see an increase in the amount of people and members themselves, which we are, of course. So that's a very, very big and good sign. And the daily active holders as well is increasing. We can see back here, basically at the start of this year, at about 1.2, if I kind of move back a bit here, about 1.2-ish million active holders. And we also come over here, now we're about 1.3. So we've gained about 100 to 200,000 daily active holders, which is very important in my personal opinion, because that indicates the ecosystem is growing, all right? So a very important thing that people often overlook is something called the layer one flywheel, which is this. And when you begin to see more active users in the ecosystem, it's these guys, right? It's basically these guys are only here because there's somewhat of a utility and or community, but that's only created from useful applications, right? So you don't have a community using the actual product itself if you don't have any sort of applications, which of course Polkadot does because they are so robust in terms of the parachains and the applications built on those parachains, okay? Now, let's look at some price predictions here, of course. I don't want to get into the weeds of it because I've made many videos on Polkadot price predictions recently, but asking the question, will Polkadot go above 100 billion market cap? We'll put it in perspective, guys. The last cycle, it topped at $52-ish billion market cap, okay? Now, I believe the Jam protocol is going to be even bigger for Polkadot this time around just because it unlocks Polkadot to the whole new degree, okay? Parachains are a cool idea. Flawed, yes. That's why they've moved away from it. But the new implementation of the Jam protocol is just going to make Polkadot a whole new beast, all right? Especially since now we have asynchronous backing. We have this block time, core time. It's just unbelievable, right? So 100 billion market cap by the future Q4 2025 supply of Polkadot will be a $59 token. But again, this is worst case because end of 2025. For example, if we work out what the end of 2024's supply will be, working this out at roughly, like, let's just say 1.5 or 1.55 billion tokens, of course, the price will be a lot more, right? Probably closer to $70. So the increase in supply has an effect on the price. This is why it is the worst case. And if you actually have a look at my price prediction sheet, that is completely built by data. Completely 100 altcoins built by data, recently updated to also incorporate a few more things as well, like the current performance. We can see some pretty astonishing results. The max price prediction in this case, again, max price prediction is $118 at a 198 billion market cap, and a max let us sell level of $88, which considers the fact that you don't want to be selling at the very, very top price prediction. You want to sell with some room to grow, so that's more of a realistic level to look at. And in this case, of course, $102 for how Polkadot is performing now. So it's not quite performing as good as it needs to be, but that's of course because it's not in favor right now, okay? So these things do pop up over time. Nevertheless, about I'd say $110 is about the average here in this case. But again, this also considers the max amount of tokens are in circulation. So realistically, the market cap is much more likely to be around $120 billion in this cycle for Polkadot to be at around $100, if not maybe $90-ish. So yes, I definitely think Polkadot has what it takes to hit $100 billion market cap. Therefore, from the current price, going anywhere from, I believe, about a 7 to a 12x. Again, this isn't indicative of future gains, or I'm not telling you guys to go ahead and hedge into this for 100% success. All I'm saying is the upgrades that have come out from Polkadot plus this new Jam protocol implementation already passing, I believe there's some massive room for this project to grow, and I think you're sleeping on this coin if you're disregarding it. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Take good care. Talk to you soon. Bye.